Welcome, guys, to another episode of Making Feria. My name is Chris Medina. I am an entrepreneur, and today I have a special guest. Today, his name's Juan Briseño. He has a company called BCD Industries. Tell us a little bit about what you do and how'd you get into it, and a little bit of your background.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure for being on this podcast. This is actually my first podcast and one of many to come. Yeah. But my name is Juan Briseño. I am the owner of a company called, like you said, BCD Industries. We're a construction company that services the commercial, residential, and government industries.
Excellent, excellent. So how did you get into that? How did you get into that industry?
So my dad, I come from a generation of masons, which is concrete masons and block masons.
But what does that mean? What is like mason?
So mason, to clarify, is block installers.
Okay.
Like have you ever had a block wall installed or you seen block walls being installed? That's what a mason is.
Gotcha.
And they set concrete also. That's also a mason. So they were both in that industry, the block industry, the concrete industry. But my family comes from a generation where they're actually like artisans. So they worked with brick, pavers, a lot of stone. So they're real crafty in that nature. So that's what a mason is. And that's what the whole family, including my grandpa, all my uncles, and my father were when they were growing up. So it's a generational industry that I got put into.
Yes.
So that's what a masonry is.
Gotcha. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I never knew. You know, when you said like the Masons, I thought it was like one of those groups or something. Right?
Yeah, it falls back to the Masons, because they used to build. They were all craftsmen and masons, and they all gathered up together. From what I understand, they gathered up together and created the masonry group.
Yeah.
But that's where the term comes in.
Yeah.
But that's mostly what my family was. So I got introduced to it at a young age.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be in masonry or construction. I wanted to be different. But being that my dad was a mason, he would take me out on jobs that I would just learn and pick up trash, and that's how I started in the industry.
Do it. Excellent, excellent. Okay. So BCD Industry. So again, you specialize in cement, and you said floor, or what is it exactly?
Yeah, so we specialize. We hold 4 licenses. I do. I hold a General A, which is the license to being able to work on the streets, which includes freeways, road work, bridges. That's what that license does.
Yeah.
Or the ability within that license, that's what it allows you to do. And then I have a General B, which the General B allows you to work on houses on the residential side or commercial, to being able to raise buildings from the ground up. That's what the B does. And it allows you to subcontract work to other people, and you oversee them.
Yeah.
So that's what the General B does. The C8 is a concrete license, which that is, again, just concrete, putting slabs, foundations, structural work for towers. This building here that sits on a foundation, that's included in that license.
Yeah.
And then we have the masonry, which masonry again involves stone, brick, block, rebar work to some extent, pavers. So that's what those licenses contain, and that's where I'm licensed at.
So was this a family business that got passed on to you, or can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah. So being that my dad was he had an entrepreneur spirit. He had his own small business.
Yeah.
But it never went beyond 2 to 3 guys. And when I got introduced out of high school back in 2000, I'm dating myself now, but in 2000, I got out of high school and I didn't know what to do. You know, again, I didn't want to go in the industry because it was tough.
Yeah.
So I went to work for another company, selling parts for the Ford dealership. And my dad eventually started nitpicking at me, like, you should get into construction, you should get into construction. So my dad never had a license, and he was just doing, he was just working without a license. So
under the table stuff.
Yeah, under the table. And he would work for other contractors. But so when I got into the industry, I said, fine, I'm gonna put my feet in it. And I was able to learn all I could with my dad.
Yeah.
And then I separated from my dad, and I went and worked for other companies to learn other skills.
Yeah.
So it got to the point where I learned a little bit of every company that I was working with, and I made the decision to work for myself. That I wanted to go out and grab my own license, and that's when I got the masonry license.
Yes.
So when I got the masonry license, I was able to go out on my own back in 2007, because BCD is the second company I own. I used to have a previous one which was called Briseño Constructive Designs, and that's what BCD comes from.
Yeah.
And that license there, I shut it down because the economy. I went down with the economy. There wasn't enough work. I didn't have enough skills to be able to elevate myself and be able to survive during that time.
Was that like during pandemic or
Yeah.
before that?
Well, 2008 was when the recession happens.
Yeah.
So I fell into that victimized mentality, and I shut the company down after 2010. So I went to go rework for somebody else. So BCD has been around with this license since 2014. I went into the business again I went full in 2017.
Okay.
So that's how I started, and it's not necessarily a passed on family business, because my dad taught me all he could, and
Yeah.
I went on my own and was grabbing other things from other companies that I worked at, other people that I met, and I built my own company.
Definitely.
So that's BCD is the qualities and the craftsmanship were brought in from the family, and I took it to another place by actually becoming licensed and being able to run a full business.
Doing things the correct way, right?
Right.
Excellent. Excellent. How big is the company now? How many employees do you have?
So right now we have 18 guys. 17 guys and an assistant, and then also we outsource an accounting company to manage all our books. So, but in the field, W-2 employees, we're about 18, 19 deep right now.
18, 19. Wow, that's good,
Yeah.
man. That's pretty big.
Yeah, it's pretty big. We're gonna try to get a little bit bigger, but also manage it where we're just not getting a bunch of warm bodies just to fill in the positions. We actually want to 2014. I want to be able to implement a lot of systems, a lot of trainings.
Okay.
So
Excellent, excellent. Okay. What were some of the challenges,
some of the challenges
that you had to overcome, like the first year? But obviously, you had your business. You went through some struggles in 2008, restarted back in 2010. Is that right?
2014.
2014. Okay. Launched again,
Yeah.
BCD Industries. So coming up as you're already an entrepreneur, but coming up
Right.
again from the beginning, what were the challenges?
Yeah. So the challenges were from 2014 to 2017. I was working for somebody, and I was getting side work little by little just to get my feet wet again. Because again, I was literally living in fear because I didn't want to lose everything. I lost everything in 2008 to 2010. So I had to restart over. So my wife, she was again also working from being scared. She was she always put that in my head, like, don't do it again because we're gonna go in the same situation. So the challenges were being able to wear multiple hats. The first year was like I had to be the salesman, I had to be the field guy, I had to be the foreman. I had to come back and do all my billing and estimating. So that was a very challenging and long hours that put a lot of stress on the relationship, and on myself. But the perseverance that I had, because I know where I wanted to be, it just kept me going. The other challenges were being able to line up the next project, because I was so busy in the field and late nights that I wasn't really focusing on putting the next project in line. Definitely. And once I started getting work, it was just kind of like word of mouth. So it was like a snowball effect that just kept going. And in a sense, it was a little bit of a thought where if I keep doing a good job with these clients, they'll refer me, and that's how my work spread out through the years and got me through the first years by the referral process.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, coming up as a new entrepreneur, you wear all these hats. Everybody thinks, oh, becoming a business owner is going to be easy. You're going to make a lot of money, but that's just not the truth, right?
No,
You got
it's
to wear
not.
multiple hats. You got to have the passion for it. You had the passion for this industry, right? Your
Right.
business. You loved what you did, and you persevered.
Right.
So
Yeah, it was definitely hard. You know, a lot of people think I'm gonna start a business and get rich overnight, but it's not like that. There's a
Yeah.
lot of hard work, so you have to have a heart for it, and being able to, like I said, persevere. If something falls in a situation, you gotta be able to go beyond that and go around and be able to adjust as your business grows.
Definitely.
So that's that was one of the biggest things, because just being overwhelmed with stuff. Once I started getting busy,
Yeah.
I was starting to get overwhelmed and wearing multiple hats, late nights. So it got to the point where even then was I see a lot of people like failing, because they give up, because they're overwhelmed and they don't have their life.
Definitely.
So I had multiple situations that I persevered through, and that I plowed through, and it worked.
Nice.
So
nice.
now it's we're about 6 years deep, that we just constantly from 2017, when I went out on my own, to now it's about 6 years.
Yeah. Excellent. Good, man. That's good. So, guys, again, so this podcast is for new aspiring entrepreneurs. So with that being said, Juan, what would you tell yourself, or what advice would you give yourself back when you were starting again back in 2014? You said you started again, right?
Right. 2014 was the year that I got relicensed, and I was working for somebody at the time. So as I built up my daily income, in 2016 I was able to get side work. So I was building a little side money to be able to kind of prepare myself, getting my feet wet again.
Yeah.
And in 2017, I was able to launch, and I had a conversation with my boss, which I have a good relationship with to this point. And I just clearly told him, I said, look, I've been relicensed, and it's something that I want to do, but I'm coming out of fear because I lost everything. And what do you give me your advice? And he was really positive about it. He was, you know what, go for it, because you never know what's going to happen on the other side of fear. The other side of taking a chance could be a perfect opportunity for you to get back on your feet and be able to bless others.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, at the beginning, we all have to take that risk. For me, I started by working with my uncle, which is good that you work in the industry that you want to, start your business in, right? That way you learn
Right.
all the information, you learn skills that you can acquire faster than if you did it on your own, right? So, but yeah, like for me, like I saved up 10 grand, I got my license. That time I got laid off, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna screw it. I'm just gonna open my own office. And yeah, it's pretty scary. It's a scary thing, but you just gotta stick to it, be positive, just keep pushing, work hard, and just take it day by day, right? Take it day
Right.
by day, and eventually you'll get to a good level, right?
Yeah, for me, like I said, it wasn't an industry that I wanted to go into, because I saw that it was hard work. But when I really got introduced to it, I saw the art in it, by being able to work with brick, with block, and I was kind of fascinated by it, as I got to the point where I liked it, because
Yeah.
I went to work for a framing company. I learned how to frame, and then I went to work for a strictly masonry company. I learned how to lay block even better. And then I went to a stone company, and I learned how to lay stone really good. So you're right. Going back to the industry that you kind of want to go in, you want to take those opportunities and learn from people that are doing it, because it's almost like free training. They're training you, and
Even
at
if
the
you do it
same
for free.
yeah,
Yeah.
at the same time you're getting paid. As long as you have that mentality that it's going to take you somewhere, that you're going to go beyond. This is just a temporary location, a temporary time in your life where you're going to go through learning and being able to apply it in the future.
It's like the rich dad, poor dad concept, right? Like you go work.
Right.
Even if you work for free, but at least you're gaining those skills so that one day you can open up your own business or whatever it is that you're trying to do, right?
Right, exactly. And I was fascinated by electricity. Back in 2000, I saw a company working in telecommunications, so I really liked it.
Yeah.
And then I started getting myself involved with that industry. And in 2007, I joined a company that's all they would do. So because again, I wanted to do it,
Yeah.
I got involved with it and I was able to learn. So now we have about 2 crews that do strictly communications for like Verizon, T-Mobile.
Yeah.
So that's one area of the
That's
industry.
electrical.
It's mostly like they call it RF,
Yeah.
radio frequency.
Yeah.
It's what we set the antennas on the tower. They look like palm trees and
Oh,
the
yeah.
towers. That's what gives you the signal for your Wi-Fi, for your internet.
The cellular network.
Yeah, the cellular network.
Okay.
That's one industry that I'm also involved with, and I
Yeah.
have a specialized crews for that.
Oh, nice. Excellent. Okay. Cool. So Juan, so what are some keys to your success? You said, you started from scratch in 2014, and now we're already in 2024. You have about, what, 17, 18 employees. What were the keys to your success, to growing the company?
The keys to my success again was perseverance, being able to act and adjust, being able to look past, use the failure that I previously had, learn from it, and then apply it in a different way. Because I've been through it. I lost everything in 2008.
Yeah.
So I learned from that. And again, I was working out of fear. I didn't want to do it again, but at the same time, God was putting it in my heart to go out and do it.
Yeah.
So that lesson right there that I learned, my failure, because I lost everything, it built me to where the place I wanted to be in 2007, and made me go to that point and be able to persevere through everything, through all the failure, and all every situation that I got, I had already experienced, so I knew kind of how to like weave myself out of the situation, be able to keep going forward.
Okay. So what was your biggest problem in '08? Like, it's just the economy went down, there wasn't enough jobs, people building. Was that it?
2008, I was only, I would say 24, 25 years old.
Yeah.
And being the victim mentality. I was victimized, and I blamed it on the economy. But if I really would have put myself in the situation where I could have overcome that, and I would have been a different person from there.
Yeah.
If I would have been able to just implement and be persistent with my type of work, because there was work.
Yeah.
It was just not knowing where to get it, because there was a lot of insecurities that 24-year-old Juan had. A lot of stuff in his head that just got into depression. Losing everything is not easy.
True.
So you start getting into the depression mode, the victim mode, and you just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah, and you just ran out of capital. Was that?
Yeah, ran out of capital. Everything was far. At the time, I was living in Victorville, so the travel was a lot. I was wasting a lot on fuel.
Yeah.
And again, it's just not being able to be persistent with my goals. I kind of just went into this mode of, if I lose everything, oh well.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the right mentality. I wasn't at the right state of mind. My focuses were off. So that was one of the biggest failures that I had, because the work was out there.
Yeah.
The work was there. It's always been there, but it's just not knowing how to go after it. That I was doubting myself.
Yeah.
I was in a depressed mindset.
Yeah.
And it really took me to a deep place.
Okay. So for like new entrepreneurs, these are real things that you're gonna go through in business. So, what would you tell somebody that might be going through something similar, or an upcoming entrepreneur, right? Like, you have to adapt, right? Change your mentality. There is always gonna be work. There's always gonna be stuff, but you got to go out there and look for it, right? You got to make those connections. You got to go to networking events. That's actually how I met you, right? We went to Driven 7 with Albert, and you make those connections with other entrepreneurs, and then you start building your network, and then people start referring you jobs. Now that I know that you do block and electricity, who knows? Maybe one day I might want a bigger office, and now I know you, so now I know who to call.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but what would you tell an entrepreneur that might have been going through what you were going through? How did you make that shift in 2014, so that now you're positive and now you're growing your business?
So, I'll go deep into it, but one advice or multiple advices that I have is just get out of that funk, because all it is just your own head and traumas that are affecting you in that moment, and you kind of blame that circumstance because we're so used to blaming. Oh, because of this I'm this way, or because of her I'm this way. So you have to step out of that, look past that, and say, where do I really want to be? Because like I said, my failure was that I victimized myself, that I went deep into that hole, and I went through the motion.
Yeah.
And one advice, again, just be persistent, be persevering, and being able to just go through those problems and get out of there. Ask advice. Ask somebody that's successful, that is doing something that you want to do, and just ask for advice. Ask multiple people, but ask the right people, because if you go ask your friend or your buddy, they don't want to see you succeed. They don't want to see you better than them, so they're gonna give you what they want to tell you. So you have to go to the right people that are already doing it and ask them, hey, what are you doing that I can apply in my life, in my business? So that would be one of the advices. But as far as my circumstance is, I had I had an upbringing that was pretty rough.
Yeah.
And that affected me during that time, and I fell into a depression.
Gotcha.
So for me to actually step away from it, there was a lot of hurt in because what happened was I was living the same way that my dad was living, even though I didn't want to live like him.
Yeah.
I was living in the same way in my relationships. I saw a lot of violence in my relationships, or in my parents' relationship.
Yeah.
Within the family, a lot of criticism. So that's all the stuff was in my head during that time, and then it affected me. So my relationship was broken, and I was looking for an answer. And between 2010 and 2014, I was looking for an answer. Like, there's got to be a better way than this. And God was putting it in my heart to start reading the Bible.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of got into reading the Bible. So I made a transition. I was seeking answers from higher powers.
Yes.
At the time, because I wanted to fix my marriage. I wanted to fix the relationship what I had with my kids, and I wanted to fix the business. So, and that's how I looked for God, and I became, and that just opened up a whole realm of blessings. And that's how I was able to go through through that process of living in fear to transition to the entrepreneur that I wanted to be. So it was through the church and through my pastor, because my pastor has a church is a business.
Yeah.
And he's entrepreneur too. So he started a church from scratch. So all his teachings involved a little bit of entrepreneur, and that's why I got so attracted to that church, because the way he was giving his sermons was really hitting me. And that's how I was able to get the courage, the desire to be able to go and start over again in 2014.
Definitely. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's very true. Like you said, find what we call a mentor, right? In
Right.
your field that will help you scale whatever it is that you're trying to build. But somebody who's, qualified, someone who's already done it, and that you've actually validated that they've done it.
Right.
Maybe go with them on projects and see that they're actually doing the work. Volunteer, go learn something for free. And then you can apply it to your own business or your whatever it is that you're trying to build, right?
Right. Just start conversations. Start a conversation. Most people that are successful are willing to share a little bits and pieces of how they got successful. It's like when you get to that level, what I've seen is people are so much happier, and they want to give that back.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. This is why I do a podcast. I want to give back. I want to provide value because, we're real business owners. We've done it. I've been doing business for probably like 10 years. You've been doing it for pretty much 10 years with the previous thing, 10 years. So you want to find a mentor that's already been doing it for quite some time and that you can trust.
Right. I mean, business, in the field, in the trade that you want to go, I would get a specialized mentor. But in general, business is business. Also look for if you're going to look for a mentor or attach yourself to somebody that's doing it, I would go with somebody that has a successful business, that has different processes in place, so you can learn from that, and then learn your specialty, combine those together, and it just becomes a big company or a big person that's doing big things.
Awesome, awesome. Now that you mentioned processes, I mean, what have you done in your business to put those systems and processes in place? I mean, handling 18 employees can be a lot. So, I mean, obviously, you don't want all your employees to come ask you questions all day long.
Right.
So, what kind of processes do you put in place?
So as far as processes, I'm still applying a lot because there's business is hard, and every day it's new applications. So the way I did it is I outsource my accounting, I outsource my HR, and I have it as an assistant. So the assistant collects the hours, the HR pays all the does all the payroll. They have direct deposit, so it goes straight to their bank.
Yeah.
And then my accounting firm, they basically do my taxes, and at the same time they do my bookkeeping. And they have access to everything. We go through QuickBooks, so they have access to all the expenses. So everything's categorized.
Yeah.
So that's how that flows through. So those hats have obviously been taken away from me.
Yeah.
And I focus more on the construction side.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of the collecting. They tell me what bills are due. And between them, myself, and my wife helps me a lot too. So
What's her position? Is she like operations?
She does finances. She pays most of our bills. Yeah.
And tracks the money.
Tracks the money, yeah.
Like CFO.
Right, the
Chief
CFO.
Financial Officer. So okay, so how's your tree set up? So you're the CEO. Your wife's basically kind of like the CFO.
Right.
Do you have an operations chief operating officer right now?
Not yet. We're still going, like I said, applying systems as we go, as we learn, because it was from 2017 to like 2020. I was still doing that same thing, working in the field, doing paperwork. I found this company that he has a lot of systems background.
Yeah.
And he's implementing a lot of stuff, telling me what to do and how to do it, how to better it. So as far as an operation, I do have my one person that handles the telecommunications side. He's a good operator that I'm gonna eventually give him the position.
Telecommunications, what do you mean? Like handles of inside like sales calls and stuff, or what do you mean?
No, again, going back to the cellular, because I have that division.
Oh yes.
So
yes.
he handles that department and he's good at it. So eventually I want to drift him to overmanage everything, or just get another person that's about 70% of what I can do, and be able to put him in the position of the civil side, which I call the concrete, the masonry, the street work. So that's what I call the civil.
Gotcha.
So put maybe 2 operators in the both divisions and have them work together at the same time, run their own departments.
Definitely. Okay.
So as I go, I'm still creating those positions, and I'm putting people in.
Adapting, right?
Adapting, because eventually I want to make this where it runs on itself, and I just kind of oversee everything.
Yeah, that's the goal with me too. So right now, like, I have 2 hearing aid offices, but it's still considered a mom and pop shop because I still have to oversee everything. I do have 1 office manager, and then I have a receptionist, and I'm training another dispenser, which I'm a dispenser, but I'm training her to get her license. So she's a trainee under my license. So she's helping me see patients, but eventually, hopefully she gets her license. And another thing is having employees stick around, because sometimes they learn and take off, right?
Yeah.
But that's where you have to negotiate something, right, with them. But yeah, right now I have that. But I do want to hire, because, do you know Ryan Pineda?
Yeah.
Like he always says, like, hire from the top down. So like if I hire a operating officer, maybe they can be in charge of filling up all these other positions, and that way it takes a lot of stuff off my hands.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely keeping people around, because they start learning it and they feel like they can do it on their own. And they go out and open their offices or their practices. And same thing with me. I deal with it all the time. If I start teaching somebody a trade, now they're going and doing things on their own, and eventually even talking to my clients, which
Yeah, no, that gets a little tricky.
Yeah, it gets tricky, but at the same time, it's like, when you have a system in place where you can, if one falls off, the other one goes and replaces them. That's always good too.
Just putting the right people in the right positions, and always have it like organized.
Right, and then like you said, doing some type of like financial opportunities for them, so they can stick around. Because the same thing I'm gonna apply is, if I have a good worker, I'm going to eventually offer them some type of equity or some type of commitment to the company so they stick around.
Be competitive with their paying in the field.
Yeah, exactly. So they feel like they're a part of it too. You know, they're not just making me rich, because that's the whole mentality of a worker. I'm making the boss rich. And it's mostly, I mean, yeah, we're entrepreneurs because we want to get to a point where the business can be sold at some point and we can make a nice living off of that.
Yeah.
A nice compensation. But at the same time, if we're working as a mom and pop shop, it's like we're just earning a living just like they are.
Yeah.
But we have way more responsibilities.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, well, really, as a person, as we start to change and we start to better our relationships, the other side of that is, you know, you get a nice successful business, but being able to work on yourself. But as far as crazy things, I mean, I'm always taking chances. I'm always taking risk. If I don't know something, I learn it as I go. It's kind of like I act and I adapt as I go. You know, the one job that I took on for the government, you know, it was a $13 million job. That's not what I got, but the whole job itself was like $13 million.
Yeah, of course you have to pay your employees, supplies, and everything, right?
Yeah, so I was hired, but I was scared because I never done that work again. You know, it was a wall that I had to do, add a foot of concrete.
At the border? Not just
Not at the border. I had to add a foot of concrete, and it was from the ground up. It was 14 feet. I never done that type of work.
So you said it was like what? How big? A foot?
It was a foot wide. There was an existing wall
Yeah.
that I had to add a foot of concrete to build, to structurize the wall.
Yeah.
And I never done that type of work, but I took a chance, and especially in government work, because if you do something wrong there, like you can lose your whole license, your business. So I took that risk. I learned through as I went.
Yeah.
I failed midway. I failed. You know, but the old one would have, you know, got depressed and would have got sad and would have got into like this hole in the ground. But what I did was, you know what, we got to find a solution.
Exactly.
We got to find a solution to be able to get this wall done. And I did. It cost me more money, but at the same time, I was able to do the work. And not only do the work, they gave me more work.
Yeah.
Because of this one situation that I was so afraid of, but I took a risk. And the result of that was more work. And now I have a relationship with them where they can give me more work potentially.
You executed the job.
Yeah.
So what was the issue? I mean, where did you run into a problem building that wall?
The problem was that the concrete is heavy.
Yeah.
Concrete is heavy. So what I did was I formed it up. I obviously put a bunch of rebar. It had a rebar like every 12 inches.
Little sticks you put in between the blocks.
Yeah, it was, but it's on the wall. So you have to drill every 12 inches in a square. You have pretty much a square. Like if you connect the dots, it's a square. So the whole wall was 82 feet long by 14 feet high. So it was a big wall. And we had to do a bunch of dowels. We call them dowels, the drilling.
Yeah.
And putting the rebar. And then we had to form it out to put some concrete. And that was just, it's too much concrete. So what happened was it started to separate. Even though it was formed good, it started to separate.
From the first wall that was there.
Yeah, from the first wall.
Yeah.
So the concrete started pushing out the form, and it was creating a what we call, it's like a stomach.
Yeah.
You know, like a bow in the form. So it started to build it out. So we had to stop because the concrete was already getting hard, and that's another obstacle. The concrete has to be poured out in 45 minutes from the time the truck gets filled, travel to the yard, and being able to pour it out. It's got to be 45 minutes. So that was like nearly impossible. So that challenge we had to stop. And it was just like a bunch of thoughts going through my head.
How did you fix the problem though?
So we fixed it by calling people. Again, you call people, hey, what do you do in this situation? What do you do in this situation? So I found out that we had to do what was called a shotcrete. We shotcreted the whole wall. It didn't even take forms. All it is just concrete blown into from a hose, blown onto a wall, and that's how we built it out. And it came out perfect.
Okay, nice.
So, again, being able to plow through those obstacles was this way of calling the contacts that I had, the people that are in those industries that I connect with, and being able to give you advice on, hey, how do I go through this situation?
with those, it's important to build those relationships so that one
Right.
day, if you have a question, hey, brother, how do I do this, man? Because it's going wrong. But
Exactly.
let me know what's the best way to do it.
Yeah, so that was one of the craziest things. I'm a risk taker, and just being able to adapt as I go. And then from the end result of that is now you have a new trade, new skill to be able to apply for another job.
For the future jobs.
Yeah.
Definitely. Risk. That's what an entrepreneur is, taking great financial risk in order to hopefully one day get more out of it, right?
Exactly.
All right, Juan. Well, thank you so much again for coming on the podcast. You shared a lot of value, which is great, especially in the construction industry.
Right.
So tell the audience where they can find you in case they need any of your services.
Yeah, so I have a Instagram, Facebook. Instagram is my personal one. It's the Juan Briseño. It's THE and then Juan Briseño. And then the company one, I have a company one. It's BCD Industries, all just one word, BCD Industries. And I have an Instagram and Facebook that they can reach me at. They can message me, direct message, and I will answer.
Perfect. That's it, guys. Facebook and Instagram, right? That's the best way.
TikTok as well. We have a TikTok that also
same.
same.
Juan Briseño,
Everything's the same. I try to keep it the same.
BCD Industries.
Yeah, the Juan Briseño and then BCD Industries.
Cool. Well, thank you again, Juan. Appreciate you coming on. And again, follow this guy, the Juan Briseño, BCD Industries, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Making Feria.